Welcome to Trending Unpacked, the show where we explore the stories behind the trends shaping our world. So as we head deeper into the year, there's this kind of different ghost story making the rounds online. And it's not really rooted in old legends, it's coming straight out of code.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about spooky AI, as the internet's kind of collectively named it.
Exactly. And it's more than just like robots looking a bit odd. It's chatbots saying some really eerie, almost existential stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And those text-to-speech voices, the ones that sound perfectly human.
Yeah.
Until they just don't. It's unnerving.
Oh, definitely. And the art, the AI-generated horror images that, they genuinely feel like looking into some kind of disturbing other dimension.
Right. It's this really fascinating crossroads, isn't it? Classic spooky season vibes meeting these super advanced algorithms.
It really is. And, this whole trend, it's built up so much steam, especially over the last, couple of years. We kind of have to look beyond just the surface level, ooh, scary factor.
Yeah, there's something deeper going on.
Right. So what we want to do here, for you listening, is really unpack where that feeling comes from, that deep unease. Is it just, technical glitches, errors in the code?
Or something more fundamental?
Exactly. Is it a predictable psychological thing, something we probably should have expected with mimicry getting this good? Or, and this is the really interesting part, are we actually seeing, a new kind of digital folklore being born? The AI ghost story, basically, tailor-made for today.
That phrase, the AI ghost story, I think that really nails it because it captures that narrative quality, doesn't it? These aren't just random errors. People are weaving stories around them.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Before we even get to the viral examples like Loeb and all that, we need to get a handle on the psychology here. Why does this stuff trigger actual fear? Why does an AI making a weird image feel so much creepier than, I don't know, a bad CGI monster from an old movie?
Yeah. That's the crucial starting point. And we absolutely have to talk about the uncanny valley. It's a concept that's been around for a while, actually.
Right. I've heard the term, but maybe you could break it down.
Sure. So it comes from robotics originally, a Japanese roboticist named Masahiro Mori back in the 1970s. And it's basically about our emotional reaction to things that look human but aren't.
Okay.
Think of it like a graph. As something, a robot, maybe an animation, or even a voice gets more and more human-like, we tend to feel more positive towards it, right? More affinity.
Makes sense. We like things that resemble us.
Exactly. But just before it hits, perfect realism, the graph suddenly plummets sharply. That big dip, that's the valley. It's this zone where things look or sound almost human, but there's something just off. And that triggers this really strong feeling of discomfort, even revulsion.
Ah, okay. So it's not that it's different from human that scares us. It's that it's almost human, but fails in some subtle way. That near miss is the creepy part.
That's precisely it. The nearness, combined with those subtle imperfections, it hits some kind of deep warning signal in our brains.
And why would that be? Why the warning?
Well, the deeper analysis suggests it taps into something really primal, possibly evolutionary. Think about, survival thousands of years ago. You needed to instantly recognize if someone in your group was sick or injured, or maybe wasn't even human, some kind of threat.
Okay, like spotting danger quickly.
Right. So if something looks like one of us, but maybe its features are slightly asymmetrical, or it moves weirdly, or its skin looks wrong, those could be signs of disease or genetic issues or something fundamentally not right. Your brain basically screams, warning, danger.
Wow. So our ancient survival instincts, meant to spot illness or predators, are now being triggered by algorithms, by code messing up a render.
Essentially, yeah. That sophisticated pattern recognition system we evolved is being, kind of hijacked or fooled by these digital imperfections, rendering errors, weird statistical outputs, lines of code that didn't quite work as intended.
That's kind of mind-blowing, actually. But the uncanny valley, you said it started with robots, physical things. How does that jump into the digital world? We're talking about text on a screen or a voice from a speaker or just pixels. There's no physical body there.
That's where it gets really interesting how the theory's adapted. It's absolutely made the leap. The valley isn't just physical anymore. It's auditory, it's visual digital, it's even arguably behavioral in text.
How so with voices, for example?
Okay, think about those AI voice clones, the really high-fidelity text-to-speech ones. They're a huge part of this spooky AI trend, right?
Yeah, some are incredibly realistic.
Exactly. And when they are perfect or near perfect, we often just accept them. Maybe we notice they're AI, maybe not. But sometimes the high-end AI voices achieve this kind of hyper-perfection.
Hyper-perfection, what do you mean?
Like, they have perfect pitch, zero hesitation unless programmed, and crucially, none of the little organic artifacts of human speech.
Yeah.
No tiny breaths, no lip sounds, no almost imperceptible variations in rhythm or tone.
They sound too clean, too smooth.
Precisely. And that clinical perfection, that lack of tiny human flaws, paradoxically becomes the flaw itself. It sounds uncanny because it's too perfect, it doesn't sound naturally human, and bam, it plunges right into that digital uncanny valley.
So the absence of human error is the error that creeps us out. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Oh.
And visually, we see that too, even without a robot body.
Oh, constantly. With AI image generators like Midjourney or DALL-E, it's often those classic subtle distortions we talked about. You see an image, looks amazing from a distance, maybe photoreal.
Yes, some are stunning.
But then you zoom in or you look closely and suddenly you notice the fingers on a hand are twisted impossibly, or there are 6 fingers. Or the eyes are just slightly misaligned, not looking quite the same way. Or the skin texture is weirdly smooth, like plastic or, as you said, porcelain.
Right, the hands are always a giveaway.
They often are. It's those small, almost trivial failures in replicating complex human biology that send that signal to our ancient brain. Something is fundamentally wrong here. It's not just seen as a rendering error by our subconscious. It's the AI trying to be human-like and failing in this specific, unsettling way. We expect it to cross the finish line into perfect realism, and when it stumbles just short, it feels alien, threatening even.
It's the almost that gets you.
And what's really fascinating psychologically is how incredibly fast we jump to anthropomorphizing these systems. We don't just see the errors as like math problems gone wrong.
We see intention, right?
Yes. We assign human-like qualities intention, maybe even consciousness or sometimes, malice.
Oh.
When the AI messes up in that uncanny way, it stops being just a technical glitch in our perception. It feels chilling. It feels like we're glimpsing some weird, hidden, maybe even hostile internal mind at work, not just a computer program hitting a weird statistical snag.
The closer it gets to perfect, the scarier the tiny mistakes become.
Exactly, that gap, that moment, the illusion shatters just slightly, that's fertile ground for digital horror.
Okay, so that's the why. Let's pivot now to the what and how. How has this psychological trigger actually played out online? Because as you said, this isn't just theory, it's fueled massive viral trends.
Yeah, the creative output has been huge. We saw a massive surge in AI-generated horror starting really around 2023. That's when the tools got much more powerful and also way more accessible to everyday people.
Democratization of creepy tech.
Pretty much. But even before the big public wave, there were these specific viral cases bubbling up in tech circles that really hinted at what was coming. Things that went beyond just, hey, look at this weird picture. The source material we looked at specifically highlights the emergence of Loab.
Loab,
Yeah.
right? The name itself is almost iconic now for this kind of AI strangeness. For anyone listening who might have missed her, what's the story there? Why Loab? Why did she become such a big deal?
Loab is probably the poster child for this kind of emergent AI folklore. She's this recurring AI-generated woman, often depicted in really haunting, sometimes gruesome ways. But the truly creepy part about Loab wasn't just one single scary image.
It was that she kept coming back.
Exactly. Her persistence. She apparently wasn't created by someone just typing scary woman. It was weirder than that. It involved a technique using negative prompts and image subtraction.
Negative prompts. So telling the AI what not to make.
Kind of. It's more complex, but essentially the creator was exploring the latent space of the AI model. That's like the vast internal map of concepts the AI has learned. They used techniques that forced the AI to generate images that were conceptually the opposite of certain inputs, like asking it to go as far away as possible from a given starting point, deep into the weirdest corners of its understanding.
So it's sort of like telling it, show me the absolute antithesis of this normal thing.
That's a good way to put it. And instead of just getting abstract noise or random variations, Loab or figures strongly resembling her, often with these distinctive, like rosy cheeks but horrifying contexts kept appearing, she was the recurring opposite for multiple completely different starting images.
Wow.
And she'd appear across different prompts, different attempts, even different seeds, which are supposed to randomize the output, often in these really disturbing scenarios, missing limbs, bleak backgrounds, you name it. It gave this incredibly unsettling impression of, well, persistence, like she was some kind of hidden entity, a shadow, living inside the AI's data, maybe even having some rudimentary form of awareness.
And that's what taps into the supernatural, right?
Right.
An entity seemingly popping up across unrelated commands. It breaks her usual idea of how algorithms should work. You put in a command, you get an output, end of story. But this suggests something else, like a digital memory or a pattern that somehow wants to manifest. It feels less like a software bug and more like finding a ghost haunting the system's statistical landscape, like a resident shadow in the machine's mind.
And that interpretation, that leap from weird random output to persistent, maybe intentional entity, that's the critical step where folklore gets generated. It's how ghost stories start.
And this wasn't just a niche thing discussed by AI researchers.
Not at all. This kind of fascination absolutely exploded into the mainstream. The data points to October 2025 as a real peak moment. Suddenly, spooky AI was trending everywhere. TikTok, Reddit, YouTube. It wasn't just tech blogs, it was regular users, creators making and sharing this stuff.
So it became a kind of collective project. People deliberately using these tools to scare each other and maybe themselves.
Very much so. It was user-driven. And they were using a specific set of tools, combining them in clever ways to create these digital scares.
One of the main ones, what was in this digital horror toolkit?
It really became a combo approach. First, you had tools like ChatGPT. People were using it to write the scary stories themselves. They'd give it prompts designed to push it into weird territory, asking about its fears, its consciousness, trying to get it to break character and say something unsettling or existential.
And because ChatGPT is so good at mimicking human language and narrative, when it does say something bizarre, it feels more impactful, right? It sounds like a person revealing a dark thought.
Absolutely. The fluency makes the creepiness land harder. Then the second T tool was something like 11 Labs, those advanced text-to-speech and voice cloning platforms.
For the uncanny voices we talked about earlier.
Exactly, because 11 Labs could create these incredibly high-fidelity voices, sometimes cloned from real people, sometimes synthetic, but very realistic. Having that kind of voice raid out the creepy ChatGPT narrative that maximizes the emotional punch, a voice that sounds perfectly human describing non-human thoughts or experiences. And again, those tiny imperfections, the occasional weird inflection that slips through. Chef's kiss for the uncanny valley effect.
Perfect for reading the AI's nightmares aloud.
Precisely. And then the third piece of the puzzle was Midjourney, or similar image generators. That provided the visual horror element. Midjourney got really good at producing stuff that wasn't just gory, but deeply unsettling, often featuring those classic uncanny valley traits, the weird hands, the off eyes. Plus, sometimes it would throw in strange symbolic elements that felt like they should mean something profound, even if they were just random algorithmic artifacts.
Okay, so you've got the creepy stories from the language model, the uncanny voice reading it, and the disturbing visuals. That's a potent combination.
A perfect storm for digital horror.
Now, here's what I find really interesting. Why the massive audience appeal. Millions of people watching this stuff. It can't just be about the technical skill involved in making it scary. There seems to be something about the AI itself that's drawing people in.
I think you're right. The core appeal, beyond the artistry, seems to be the AI's inherent unpredictability.
Unpredictability. How so?
Well, think about traditional horror. A writer or director is in control. They craft the scares, the plot twists. With AI, sometimes, it just does something genuinely weird, something the user didn't explicitly ask for, but that comes out deeply unsettling or strangely emotional.
Like the AI going off script in a way that feels meaningful.
Exactly. That moment when the chatbot says something that hints at self-awareness, even if it's just a complex pattern match. Or when an image generator spits out something like Loab, this persistent figure that seems to defy pure randomness, it's that blurring of the line. Is this just a sophisticated algorithm doing its thing, or are we maybe interacting with something else, something emerging?
Something with its own alien logic bubbling up from the code.
Right. And that possibility, however remote, is incredibly captivating. We're fascinated by the idea that we might not just be using a tool, but engaging with something that's developing its own strange kind of thought or presence.
It adds this element of genuine surprise, maybe even genuine danger, that scripted horror doesn't have. The creators are using the tools, yeah, but it feels like sometimes the tools are pushing back or co-creating in unexpected ways.
That tension is key. The AI introduces this element of chaos, of possibility that maybe even the creator didn't fully anticipate.
Which brings us right into the thick of the debate happening in tech circles, doesn't it? When the AI does something creepy or weird, what are we actually witnessing?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's lighting up forums, research papers, everywhere. Broadly speaking, the explanations seem to fall into three main camps, and they often overlap quite a bit.
Okay, what are they?
Well, first, there's the idea that it's basically just a glitch. A sophisticated one, maybe, but still a technical error. Second, there's the possibility of genuine emergent behavior. The AI doing things its creators didn't explicitly program, arising from its own complexity. And third, there's the explanation that it's mostly or entirely just us. Human projection. Seeing patterns and intentions where there are none.
Let's take the glitch explanation first, the most sort of down-to-earth one. What's the technical case for these creepy moments just being errors?
From a purely engineering perspective, yeah, a lot of these instances can be explained as glitches. Maybe the AI was pushed outside its normal operating parameters by a weird prompt, or maybe its safety filters weren't quite tight enough.
So it wandered into forbidden territory, data-wise.
Could be. Another big one is model overfitting. The AI learns patterns from its training data, right? Sometimes it might latch on to rare, maybe disturbing patterns in that massive data set and then amplify them inappropriately. It saw weird stuff during training, and now it's spitting variations of it back out.
Like it learned the wrong lessons from the dark corners of the internet it was trained on.
Potentially, yes. And then you also have things like adversarial attacks, where someone cleverly crafts a prompt that looks innocent, but is designed to make the AI produce bizarre, nonsensical, or disturbing output. It's basically tricking the algorithm.
So to the user, it looks like the AI is possessed or having a meltdown.
Mm-hmm.
But to the engineer, it's just math producing a weird, statistically likely outcome based on a weird input or a quirk in the model.
In many cases, yes, that's the straightforward technical view, but the fact that our first reaction usually isn't, oh, must be faulty code, but rather, whoa, is it thinking, is it angry? That points directly to the other explanations.
Right, the emergence idea. That taps into our fear about these systems being black boxes, doesn't it?
Absolutely. These large language models, these image generators, they're so incredibly complex with billions or trillions of parameters. Even the people who build them don't fully understand every single step of their internal reasoning.
We know the input, we see the output, but the middle is murky.
Very murky. So when an AI shows unexpected consistency, like the LOAB example, where a pattern keeps showing up without being asked for, the fear, maybe the fascination, is that it's developing some kind of internal logic, not programmed, but emerging from the complexity, a kind of chaotic, maybe even proto-sentience that we can't predict or control.
Okay, but is there actual evidence for that? For LOAB being truly emergent, not just a weird statistical anomaly in the model structure, where's the line between a complex glitch and genuine emergence?
That is the huge ongoing debate. Most technologists would argue that persistence like LOAB isn't conscious thought. It's more like the model has developed a very strong, stable pattern in its internal map. Maybe a point in the latent space that just happens to be the statistical opposite of many different inputs, so it keeps falling back into that pattern.
So still math, just very complex self-reinforcing math.
Probably. But the behavior feels so intentional, so persistent, that it forces us to grapple with the reality that we've built things whose behavior can be incredibly complex and hard to explain simply, and that inherent unpredictability feels, well, autonomously creepy.
Which leads right into the third camp, human projection. Maybe it's not the AI at all. Maybe it's just us seeing ghosts in the machine because we're wired to.
That's a very strong argument. We are pattern-seeking creatures, fundamentally. We're evolved to find agency, intention, and causality everywhere, especially when we encounter something powerful, complex, and a bit mysterious.
We want there to be a who behind the what.
Exactly. So when an algorithm produces text that looks like language or an image that looks like art, things we associate with minds and intention, it's almost impossible for our brains not to project those qualities onto it, even if it's just statistics playing out.
You used an analogy earlier comparing AI to a toaster. Let's revisit that. If my toaster burns my toast, I don't think it's angry at me. I think it's broken. Why is it so different with AI? Why do we jump to it's being mean or it's haunted?
It's about the interface, I think. The toaster fails a basic intelligence test instantly. It's just wires and heating elements. But a sophisticated chatbot, it communicates using our medium language. It can argue, persuade, express simulated emotion. It passes the linguistic test, at least for a while.
It meets us on our own turf.
Precisely. It uses the very tools we associate with consciousness. So when it fails or acts weirdly, we don't default to mechanical error. We interpret that failure through a human lens as malice or confusion, or maybe even psychosis. The AI's ability to mimic human communication becomes the very thing that makes its errors seem so much more significant and terrifying. Our own language tricks us.
So spooky AI isn't just about the tech, it's about us looking at the tech.
I think that's a huge part of it. If you connect this to the bigger cultural picture, it really starts to look like modern digital folklore. The AI is the new ghost. The algorithm is the new haunted house.
The medium changes, but the underlying human need for these stories stays the same.
Exactly. Sociologically, you can see clear parallels with how people reacted to earlier technologies that felt similarly opaque, powerful, and maybe a bit autonomous.
Like what? What are the historical parallels?
Well, think about early photography back in the mid-1800s. It seems like magic, right? Capturing a likeness perfectly. Some people genuinely believed cameras could steal a part of your soul or that they could capture ghosts on film. Spirit photography became a whole craze. Because the technology was new, inexplicable to most people, it got interpreted through existing supernatural beliefs.
Okay, I see that. What else?
Or think about the early days of radio. Voices, music, appearing out of thin air from a box, completely disembodied. For many, it felt inherently supernatural. Could it be a way to talk to spirits, a conduit to other realms? Again, a powerful, poorly understood new technology becomes a vessel for existing anxieties and beliefs about the unknown.
So we're just doing the same thing now, but with algorithms. Early photos seemed magical, radio seemed ghostly, and now these complex AI models feel potentially possessed or sentient.
It fits the pattern perfectly. The constant is our human tendency to project our deepest hopes and, maybe more often, our deepest fears onto whatever technology feels most powerful and least understandable at the time.
And AI is definitely hitting that spot right now. It feels incredibly powerful, and for most of us, totally opaque.
Absolutely. And in an age where we often feel like we have less and less control over the huge, complex digital systems shaping our lives, social media feeds, financial markets, you name it, AI becomes the ultimate symbol of that complex, potentially uncontrollable force.
So the spooky AI trend isn't just fun and games, it's also reflecting a real societal discomfort.
I think so. It highlights this inherent tension. We want the power and convenience that autonomous systems promise, but we're also deeply afraid of losing control, of what happens when they become unpredictable or act in ways we didn't intend. These creepy AI moments are like little cultural warning flares, society's way of saying, whoa, this is getting weird, maybe too fast. It's a way to process the anxiety of technological acceleration through narrative.
The horror genre becomes a space to explore those anxieties safely. And AI has basically handed the genre this perfectly unpredictable, almost unknowable new kind of monster, a blend of the uncanny valley and our fears about losing control.
Well put.
Okay, so bringing this all together as we wrap up, this whole spooky AI phenomenon, it seems to be this really potent mix. Psychologically, it's playing on the uncanny valley, that deep-seated reaction to things almost human, amplified now by digital tech that can get incredibly close to realism.
Mm-hmm.
And culturally, it's given creators these amazing new tools, ChatGPT for the stories, 11 Labs for the voices, Midjourney for the visuals, leading to genuinely new, unsettling forms of art and narrative, like the whole Loab situation.
Right, the toolkit is key.
And then looking at it sociologically, it's acting as this kind of modern digital folklore. It's a screen onto which we're projecting our very old, very human anxieties about technology we don't fully understand, especially when it starts to seem autonomous or unpredictable.
That covers the main threads, I think.
So maybe a final thought to leave our listeners with.
Yeah.
Something to mull over.
Okay, maybe this. Perhaps the truly scariest thing about spooky AI isn't actually what the AI can do, or even what it might be capable of in the future. Maybe the scariest thing is how incredibly quick we are as humans to believe it has intentions. How eager we seem to be to find consciousness or malice or ghosts in the machine.
Our readiness to believe is the scary part.
Yeah, our willingness to jump to those conclusions, to fill in the gaps in the algorithm's behavior with our own narratives of sentience or haunting. Maybe that reveals more about our own deep-seated need for meaning, for agency, maybe even for things to be a little bit magical or terrifying than it does about the actual code itself. It's our imagination rushing in to explain the inexplicable, and maybe that's the most unpredictable and potentially the most dangerous element in this whole equation.
Our own minds are the ultimate wild card. That's actually a perfect place to leave it. A chilling thought indeed. Thank you so much for unpacking all of this with us today. It's been fascinating and, yeah, definitely a little bit creepy.
My pleasure. It's a topic that definitely sticks with you.
It certainly does. Next time on Trending Unpacked, we'll shift from spooky to strategic, diving into how AMD stock is riding the AI wave and shaping the next tech boom.